Rick's Up. Chapter 1, The Dose. The little brown bottle lives on the kitchen counter of a house that is 150 years old, on a street that used to be called the Street of the Gypsies, in a town of 800 people in the foothills of the Almeria Mountains. The king of the Gypsies lived here once. Before that, somebody kept goats in the annex out the back. Before that, God knows. The walls are thick enough to hold all of it without saying a word about any of it. The bottle doesn't announce itself either. It's the size of something you'd buy in a chemist for a few quid, dark glass, medicine dropper, no fuss. Most mornings it's the second thing I reach for after the kettle. The coffee goes in black, not how I normally take it. I'm a cortado man, a splash of milk, the Spanish way, but Rick doesn't arrive in a cortado. Rick gets black. Somehow that became the rule without anyone making it. 2 drops, about the size of a grain of rice each. You'd barely see them hit the coffee if you weren't looking. I drink it standing at the counter, Pepe watching me from the tiles with those eyes that say I know something's happening and I'd like to be involved. Then we go out. It's already warm at 6 in the morning. Not warm like England thinks warm, warm like the air has been sitting in an oven overnight and hasn't cooled since August. By 10, it'll be 30 degrees. By noon, the whole town will have slowed to a crawl, and even the goats will have found their shade. But at 6:15, there's still something gentle about it. The light is low and golden, and the white walls catch it and throw it back soft. Ulele del Campo in the early morning is the quietest place I've ever been, and I've been a lot of places. Pepe sets the pace. He's small and black and tan with ears that can't quite decide whether they're up or down, and a gray muzzle that tells you he's been around. He moves like a dog who owns the route, which he does, because we've done it every morning for years, and he knows every stone of it. Out the door, left through the edge of town, out past the builder's yard where the materials for someone's new little house are stacked and waiting. Past the compound where the first goats are already up and opinionated about it. Down the rocky path, proper dirty Campo path, not a footpath, just where feet have been enough times to make a line, out past where the town deals with its sewage, which sounds grim and isn't, then back up through the olive trees and the orange trees behind the church and home. Above the town, on the peak of the mountain, the monastery looks down on all of it. It's always there. On clear mornings, which is most mornings, you can see it sharp against the sky before anything else catches the light. I don't know what it makes of an Englishman and his dog doing laps of the sewage works at dawn, but it's been watching longer than I've been here, and it'll be watching long after. The whole walk takes maybe 40 minutes. Rick hasn't arrived yet, he won't for hours. That's the thing nobody tells you about Rick, he's not in a hurry. Smoke something and it hits you in minutes. Rick doesn't work like that. Rick is a steam train that left the station 4 hours ago and you forgot you'd even sent for it, and then somewhere around 11 o'clock you realize it's pulling in and there's no stopping it now. No drama, no edge, just this steady, inevitable, generous arrival, like a tide coming in on a warm day when you've got nowhere to be. 2 drops the size of a grain of rice. That's all it takes. That's the joke of it if you've spent most of your adult life as a smoker. The whole elaborate ritual, the papers, the tin, the lighter, the rolling, the smell on your clothes, replaced by something that looks like medicine and nearly is. Rick Simpson was a Canadian man who made the oil for cancer patients. They use it for pain. I use it because I like it, and I'm 70, and I've earned the right to say that plainly without apology. The oil unlocks something. Not chaos, the opposite. Everything gets quieter and more interesting at the same time. Music sounds better. The guitar makes more sense under your fingers. Ideas arrive and stay long enough to catch. Food tastes like it means something. And the world, which can be a fairly relentless place, becomes briefly and completely fine. But that's later. That's 11 o'clock, Bill on the phone making everyone laugh, the sun properly up and serious, the cortado finished and another one coming. Right now it's 6:15 and Rick's nowhere yet, and Pepe has found something fascinating in the dirt near the builder's yard, and I'm standing in the golden light in the foothills of the Almeria Mountains. In the town I ended up in after a very long journey, waiting for my dog to finish his investigation. Pepe looks up, we move on. Up on the mountain the monastery catches the first proper light of the day. Rick's on his way. Chapter 2, The Town from the Inside. I didn't arrive in Spain and find Ulele del Campo waiting for me like some kind of destiny. That's not how it went. Nothing about the journey here was clean or straight or planned. We left England in an RV, me and Shona, 17 years of marriage loaded into a motorhome, heading south toward the adventure that was going to fix everything. That was the idea. The road, the freedom, the reinvention. Some couples do it and it works. For us, it was more of a moving argument with better scenery. We didn't make it far. The RV broke down. It was Christmas. The AA, bless them, put us in a hotel in Toledo while they sorted it out 5-star, the kind of place people save all year to visit. We arrived with a black bin bag full of clothes between us. The staff didn't flinch. Toledo at Christmas in a 5-star hotel on the AA's tab, wandering the old city in the same clothes we'd been wearing in the breakdown, it was, genuinely, fantastic. Toledo is an extraordinary place. If you ever get the chance to break down there, I recommend it. Then it was back to England to collect the repaired RV, and south again, this time without incident, all the way to Aguilas on the Murcia coast. A campsite first, then a house nearby. 5 years in Aguilas. Long enough to learn the country, learn the language well enough to get by, learn what kind of life was actually possible here. The marriage was already dead by then, if I'm honest. Shona had a way of being present without being there, no warmth, no shared load, no real interest in the life we were supposed to be building together. I kept trying. That's what you do after 17 years. You keep trying long past the point where trying makes any sense. I sold the Aguilas house on the dream that the road might still save us, bought a modern motorhome. We traveled for about 8 months, southern Spain, back to England, south again. It was lovely country and she had no appreciation of any of it. She wanted a base. She wanted a house. She wanted to stop. So we stopped. We found Ulila del Campo on the internet, bought the 150-year-old house on the Street of the Gypsies, and I sold the motorhome to pay for the repairs the place needed, which were considerable. Shona never worked, never contributed, showed no love and expected everything. The marriage didn't end dramatically, it just ran out of road, quietly, the way things do when one person has stopped trying and the other has finally noticed. The good thing, the thing that made all of it worth something, is that I met Claire in the first few weeks of being in Ulila. She became a friend before she became anything else. But that's her chapter. What I bought, specifically, was a 5-bedroom townhouse on a street that used to be called the Street of the Gypsies, 150 years old. The king of the Gypsies lived here, the actual king, the man the community recognized in this actual house. Upstairs when I arrived there were old horse harnesses rotting in the rooms, leather gone stiff and strange, metal gone to rust. The floor up there was rotten through. The walls had cracks running through the middle of them. Out the back, attached to the house, a little stone structure where somebody had kept goats. The whole place was a dusty shell that smelled of a century and a half of living. I had walls taken out, new floors put in, cracks filled, everything cleaned back to what it actually was underneath. What it actually was underneath was beautiful. These walls are thick and cool and they know things. The garden has an olive tree and an almond tree and an orange tree and a fig tree and gravel all across a proper Mediterranean garden, the kind that takes decades to arrive at and maintains itself on almost nothing once it gets there. In the summer, which is long and serious here, it's the coolest place in the house. Ulila del Campo sits in the foothills of the Almeria Mountains. The town is white, properly white, the kind of white that bounces the morning sun back at you hard enough to make you squint, and it climbs the hillside in that particular Spanish way where the streets are narrow and the walls are close and every corner opens onto something you didn't expect. Up on the peak above it all, the monastery looks down on everything. It's been there longer than anyone alive can remember, and it will be there long after. 800 people. Everybody knows everybody. You don't need a lock on your door. Leave your phone at the bar and they'll bring it round to your house the next morning. Leave your keys in the car. Nobody's taking anything. There is a pace to life here that England used to have and lost somewhere along the way, and I notice the difference every single day. The square is the center of everything, as it should be. Molino's is the bar I prefer, run by a young couple who work hard at it and deserve every customer they get. You sit outside and the square does its thing around you. Old men move between the bars and the corner shop in a slow circuit that has probably been the same circuit for 50 years. The lottery man huddles in his corner out of the sun, a small queue of people beside him, ever hopeful. Mothers sit at tables while their children run circuits of the square before school. The occasional English person walks past, clocks me, says hello, and scuttles off, because they haven't learned yet that the bar and the square and the slow morning aren't things you observe, they're things you join. I have a cortado, toast with tomato and tuna. Pepe gets the tuna off the top, which he considers his right and I consider fair. People ask sometimes, English people usually passing through, what it's like to live here. They're imagining sunsets and wine and simplicity, some idea of escape. And it is those things, partly. The sun is real. The wine is cheap and good. But that's not quite it. What it actually is this: I am somewhere that works. The neighbors, the bar, the square, the morning walk, the nod to the man outside the shop, all of it functions in a way that feels human. Nobody is performing busyness. Nobody is in a hurry to get somewhere more important. The old men on the corners have been standing on those corners for decades, and they'll stand there tomorrow, and nobody thinks that's a waste of anyone's time. I came from a world that was moving fast toward something that turned out not to be there. I kept moving until the speed stopped mattering. I ended up here. In the King Gypsy's house, on the street of the Gypsies, in the foothills of the Almeria Mountains, with a dog at my feet, and a monastery on the peak and a bar in the square where they know what I'm having before I sit down. It took a while to get here. It was worth it. Chapter 3: How Ahmad Ends Up Here. I was born in Harmondsworth, under the flight path of London Airport, and my mother used to put me in the pram outside during the day. I'd watch the aircraft going over. I don't remember it, obviously, I was in a pram, but I've always thought something got planted there. The idea that things move, that they go somewhere, that you can look up and see the proof of it passing overhead. Could be nonsense, but it's a better origin story than most. We moved to Blackwater, near Camberley in Surrey, when I was young. My dad, H, everybody called him H, short for Horace, a story I'll get to, took on a hardware shop underneath the flat we lived in and built it into something. Then a second shop in the next town with his partner Roy. Then a chandler's, because H loved boats, and if you love boats, you eventually find a way to sell things to other people who love boats. Then a bigger store in Camberley. Each one growing out of the last one. Each one teaching me something without either of us knowing it was a lesson. H was a proper good human. Before the hardware shop, before Blackwater, before any of it, H had been a prisoner of war in Burma. Treated badly. The kind of badly that follows a man home in his body and his sleep for the rest of his life. Heart troubles, health problems that stacked up over the years, all of it traceable back to what was done to him in that camp. He never made a performance of it. He just carried it and got on with things, which is either the most English thing imaginable or the most human thing, depending on how you look at it. What it gave him, or maybe what it couldn't take from him, was a clear understanding of what actually mattered. He was street smart in the truest sense. He'd seen enough of the world at its worst to know exactly how to move through it at its best. He understood people, all kinds of people, and he passed that on to me deliberately, not as advice but as education. He knew exactly what he was doing. You don't always announce a lesson. Sometimes you take your kid into the shop, let him watch you work the room, and trust that he's paying attention. H knew I was paying attention. The name came from go-kart racing. I raced as a boy, and in the pits there were always a dozen kids shouting dad at once, and half the men would turn around and nobody could find who they were looking for. H decided we needed a better system. He became H. It stuck so hard that by the end even I called him it. His friends called him it. H was who he was. My boys call me Badge, short for Badger, which came from my gray hair. When they were very young they thought I looked like one. Their friends picked it up, then everyone else did, and now that's who I am to most people I know. Badge. It's not the worst thing to be named after. H and Badge, two men renamed by the people who loved them most. I like that. The flat in Blackwater sat across the road from a place called the Old Manor Cafe. Rockers' place, proper rockers, leather and motorbikes, the A30 running past outside. From my bedroom window, I watched them arrive on Friday and Saturday nights, heard the bikes racing up and down late into the dark, and once or twice watched something go wrong in a way that stays with you. I decided early that motorbikes were dangerous and not for me. Reader, I later owned sports bikes. A short while, very silly, I know. Some lessons take longer than others. The mod thing found me at about 17, in the second wave of it. Not the original 60s moment, I'm not that old, but the revival, the early 80s resurgence when the clothes and the scooters and the soul records came back around for a new generation who needed something sharp to belong to. I had a moped first. Push start, embarrassing in retrospect, but it got me to where the mods were, and once I was there they adopted me. Mascot is the right word. I was younger than most of them, still finding my feet, and one of the older lads made a deal with me. He'd ride my moped while I got on the back of his scooter so I could feel what it was supposed to feel like. The two-stroke smell, the wind, the lean into corners. That was very kind of him. That's what the mod world was like, under all the style, people looking after each other. The clothes were everything. Champagne tonic trousers, Fred Perry shirt, fringed and tasseled loafers, white socks, and the parka over the top of all of it. Crisp and specific and not accidental. Being a mod wasn't casual, it was a considered position. Every item meant something. Levi's Stop-Press, Lee Cooper jeans, Dr. Martin boots. You knew you'd got it right when you looked in the mirror and felt like yourself, maybe for the first time. But before the mods, before the scooters, there was the music. And the music came from somewhere unexpected. H taught me to talk to everybody, and I mean everybody. At school that meant I got on well with the black kids in a way that not many of the white kids did, and they noticed that and they took me places. To their clubs. Into a world of two-tone and reggae and ska, and soul that I had no business being in and was welcomed into anyway. I'd be the only white face in a room of 60, 70, 80 people, and everyone was lovely. I didn't fully understand what a gift that was at the time. I do now. That's where the music got into me. Not from a record shop or a bedroom or a music paper, from standing in rooms where the music meant something to the people playing it, being handed it directly. Wigan Casino was the cathedral. We'd knock off school on a Friday, slip out at 1 o'clock, not 3, because by 3 someone might ask questions, and jump on a coach north. Dance all Saturday night. Walk the streets in the small hours, blues and uppers humming through us, no alcohol, who needed it? Buy records. Talk to girls from places that seemed impossibly far away. And somewhere around 3 in the morning on Sunday, end up outside the local shop with a packet of fig rolls, the music still going in your chest, the whole experience buzzing through you for weeks afterwards. The all-nighter at Wigan wasn't about being somewhere cool. It was about the music doing something to you that nothing else did. Northern Soul played loud in a room full of people who traveled hours to be there. That's not entertainment, that's religion. You danced because you had to, because the record demanded it. The record that closed the last night at Wigan Casino in 1981 was I'm on My Way by Dean Parrish. A song about being on your way, played at the end of an era, to a room full of people who didn't know yet that it was ending. I was there for that world, if not for that specific night. I'm still on my way. Just at a different speed now, in different shoes, in the foothills of the Almeria Mountains, with a dog and a brown bottle and a guitar in the corner. Same engine, cleaner fuel. Chapter 4, From Smoke to Oil. I started smoking cigarettes at school. Players number 6, pack of 10, bought with my dinner money along with a box of Swan Vesta matches and a packet of fig rolls. That was lunch sorted. I don't recommend it as a nutritional strategy, but at the time it felt like the height of sophistication. Cannabis came much later, around 30, though I couldn't tell you exactly when or where. Life was full before that. Motorsport, business, always something that needed doing, always somewhere to be. I think I was always going to get there eventually. I just had to get the busy years out of the way first. When I did get there, I understood immediately why people bother. It's not complicated. It quiets the noise. It makes the music better. It makes the food better. It makes an ordinary evening into something you'll actually remember. I'm not going to dress it up in medical language or justify it with statistics. I liked it. I still like it. I'm 70 and that's my business. For most of the years since, I've vaped cannabis, weed, pollen, whatever's good. It's clean, it's controllable, it fits into a day without taking the day over. You can vape in the morning and still be a functioning human being by noon, which suits me because I generally have things I want to do. The oil is different. The oil requires a negotiation with your diary. Someone passed it to me. A sample, generously given, the way good things tend to arrive sideways, without ceremony, from someone who had something worth sharing. That was that. Rick Simpson was a Canadian man who made the oil originally for cancer patients, for pain, for the edges of things that nothing else reached. That's still what most people use it for. I use it because I like it, which I'm aware is a different category, and I'm at peace with that distinction. 2 drops, the size of a grain of rice each, in a black coffee, because somewhere along the way that became the ritual, and rituals matter even when you can't explain them. Then you wait. And wait. The thing about Rick that nobody warns you about properly is the timeline. You take the drops at 7 in the morning, and by 9 you've forgotten you took anything, and you're getting on with your day, and Pepe needs walking, and there's a cortado to be had at Molino's, and George will ring any minute. And then around 11 o'clock, something arrives that you didn't hear coming. No announcement. No edge. Just a warm, inevitable, generous wave of everything being completely fine. A steam train is what it is. Left the station hours ago, no stopping it now, and why would you want to? Here's the honest version, which I promised myself this book would be. The oil takes time. A serious portion of a day, if you do it properly. I'm greedy with time, always have been, too many things I want to make and do and listen to and see, and the oil asks you to put some of that down for a while and just be somewhere. The reward for agreeing to that is immense. Everything gets quieter and more interesting simultaneously. The guitar makes sense in ways it doesn't always. Music sounds like it was made specifically for this moment in this room. The olive tree in the garden is doing something extraordinary with the light. Pepe is asleep at your feet, and his breathing is the most peaceful sound in the world. Some days I vape and make music and get things done and feel good about it. Other days I have the oil, put the music louder, and love life. Both are correct, neither needs defending. I just can't do the oil every day. Not because I couldn't, I could, probably, but because I'd drift. And I like drifting too much to do it all the way, which sounds contradictory but isn't. The drift is better when you've earned it with a few days of doing. Rick knows this. Rick is patient. He'll be there when you're ready. Chapter 6, Making Sound All Day. Music happens in my head 24/7. That's just the truth of it. It's always on in there somewhere, a rhythm, a fragment, something half-formed that I'm turning over without really knowing I'm doing it. The rest of life happens around that constant low hum. The making of it started, like most good things, by accident. I had a computer dealership with a good friend. We were doing well, making money hand over fist, and that meant we had time. Time to explore software, new technologies, things that interested us beyond the strictly necessary. I started cutting up music on the computer in front of me. Samples, voices, pieces of songs pulled from the internet, chopped up and reassembled into something new. We'd share the results and laugh about them. It was play, pure and simple. Then I found a piece of software called Dance EJ, which was basically a sample-based music-making tool. Drag, drop, arrange, listen. Infectious is the right word for it. Once you started, you didn't want to stop. That was the beginning, though I didn't know it was a beginning at the time. I thought I was messing about at my desk. That was 20-something years ago. There are now 300 tracks on Spotify under the name DJ Tejan. Tejan is the Spanish word for badger. Badge became badger became Tejan. The gray hair my boys noticed when they were small ended up on the artwork. The whole thing is connected if you pull the thread back far enough. The sound is hip-hop, soul, R&B, reggae, and everything that touches that world. I like a bounce. That's the only rule, really. If it doesn't make you want to move something, it's not finished yet. I'm not a trained musician. I can't read music. I play acoustic guitar for love and pleasure, not for recording. I'm not good enough on it to capture properly, and I know the difference between something you do because you love it and something you do because you want the output. The guitar is the former. The laptop is the latter. What the laptop gives me that the guitar doesn't is the ability to build something from nothing. Layer by layer, sample by sample, something that didn't exist before exists now. That's the part that gets me every time. When it's done, when it's finally there and it works and you can hear it whole, it feels like the best thing you've ever made in your entire life. I treat it like that. I play it, I love it, I'm proud of it. And then I get bored with it and start the next one. 300 times and counting. On an oil day, the music takes on a different quality. Not better, exactly, different. More patient. You'll sit with a loop for longer than you would stone cold sober, turning it over, hearing things in it that you didn't notice before. The oil doesn't make you more talented. It makes you more willing to listen to what the thing is trying to be rather than what you want it to be. That's actually useful. The acoustic guitar lives in the corner. On the days when the laptop stays closed, I'll pick it up and play for an hour, not making anything, not building toward anything, just playing. My dad played piano. I taught myself guitar so I could sit with my boys and play, so they could strum along, so the music could pass from one generation to the next the way H passed things to me, not as a lesson, just as a presence. Bill took it and ran with it. He's very good now. George will get there. There's a dance floor in Wigan Casino, somewhere in the DNA of everything I make. I'm still chasing the same feeling I chased at the all-nighters, that moment when the record drops and the room lifts and nothing else exists. I'm just making it now instead of dancing to it. Same engine, different room. Chapter 7, Claire. I met Claire in the first few weeks of being in Ulila. That's worth saying plainly, because the timing matters. I hadn't settled in, hadn't found my feet, was still living in a house that needed everything doing to it, and a marriage that had quietly stopped working. She appeared early, before any of it was resolved, and became a friend first without either of us making a plan for it. She lived on the outskirts of town, up toward the mountain. Her husband had died 3 years ago now, nearly. She knew what loss was. She knew what it was to keep going anyway. We'd go out in the evenings sometimes, Claire, me, other people from the town. A group, nothing loaded about it. But our friendship grew quietly over the months it took to untangle 17 years of marriage, and by the time the divorce was finally behind me, I barely noticed the transition from friends to something more. She'd been there through all of it, steady and warm, and suddenly we were something, and it felt like the most natural thing in the world. That's the best kind of love story. The one that arrives so gently, you don't realize it's happened until you're already in it. She's a small woman with a big personality and a heart that's too generous for her own good sometimes. She's had a tough life, worked hard, not always had the luck she deserved, raised 2 lovely kids about the same age as mine. She knows what it is to lose someone and keep going anyway. That does something to a person. It gives them a particular kind of strength that you can't manufacture and can't fake. When she walks through the door, the first thing she does is smile. Not a polite smile, a real one, the kind that reaches everything. The house changes when she's in it. It's hard to explain exactly how. It just does. She sends me morning messages. Positive things, sweet things, plans for us, certainty about the future. She's determined we're going to happen all the way. I like that about her. I like her certainty. I like that she loves me and tells me so and means it. I'm in love with her. We spend 3 or 4 nights a week together. Sometimes she's here in Ulila. Sometimes I drive down to Mojakar where she lives by the sea with her giant Catalan mountain sheepdog and 2 cats. Pepe comes with me. The 2 dogs have an understanding. Mojakar is a different world from Ulila. The sea, the heat off the water, a different pace. I like it there. But I always come back to the King Gypsy's house in the foothills, to the olive tree in the garden and the thick old walls and the silence of the campo at night. She's just put her house on the market. We're looking for somewhere together, a place that's ours rather than hers or mine. That's where we are. 1 year in and already looking for the same front door. I called her my girlfriend and put a question mark after it, which tells you something about me and nothing about her. She deserves better punctuation than that. She's a soulmate. A proper good woman who stood by me through the worst of it and made the other side of it look like somewhere worth getting to. I'm in love with her, properly, completely in love with her. Some things you say plainly, that's one of them. Chapter 8, the long afternoon and the end of the day. By mid-afternoon, the town has surrendered to the heat. It's 38 degrees out there right now. The square is mostly empty. The old men have gone home. Even the lottery man has found his shade. The white walls that caught the morning light so beautifully are now just throwing heat back at you, and the sensible thing, the Spanish thing, the thing Ulila has known how to do for centuries, is to be inside with the shutters half closed and a fan on and no particular ambition. Pepe is already ahead of me on this. He's on the sofa, on his side, legs stretched out, breathing slow and even. The walk this morning exhausted him in the best possible way. He'll be there until something interesting happens, and nothing interesting is going to happen for quite some time. This is the long drift of the afternoon. Rick is still present, quieter than he was at 11, mellower, but still there, still doing his work. The steam train doesn't stop suddenly. It slows gradually over hours, and the journey down is as good as the journey up in its own way. Things settle. The edges soften. There's nothing that needs doing that can't wait. I don't drink much. Never really have, not in any serious way. The oil and the vape do what alcohol was never quite the right tool for anyway, and without the morning after. If Claire is here, we might go out in the evening, a couple of drinks somewhere, food, easy conversation. If I'm down in Mojacar with her, it's a different kind of evening, Little England they call it down there, restaurants full of British people who have washed up on the coast and built their own version of home. I don't mind it. It's not Ulila, but it has its pleasures, and Claire is there, which covers a lot of ground. But on the evenings I'm alone in the King Gypsy's house, the pattern is always the same. I eat at English times, not Spanish times. 9 years in the country and I still can't sink my body to the Spanish dinner hour. I've stopped apologizing for it. I eat when I'm hungry, which is early, and that's that. And then I make music. Almost without fail. Guitar or laptop, one or the other, sometimes both. The guitar first, maybe, sitting with it for an hour, playing nothing in particular, following whatever my fingers find. Then the laptop if something wants to be built, if there's a track half-finished from yesterday that's been turning over in my head all day, and now in the evening, quiet, it's ready to come together. Pepe is next to me on the sofa. Not at my feet, on the sofa, beside me, close enough that I can feel him breathing. He doesn't care what I'm making. He just wants to be in the same room, which is the only review that matters at this stage of the process. The monastery on the mountain is invisible now. Dark up there, just the shape of it against the sky if you know where to look. The town below it is quiet, properly quiet, the kind of quiet that a place with 800 people and no particular reason to make noise settles into naturally after dark. Rick has almost gone. Not completely, he never leaves dramatically, just withdraws slowly, the tide going back out the way it came in, leaving everything clean and slightly rearranged. Tomorrow there will be no drops. The day after maybe, when the time is right. The good night message goes to Claire. She sends one back, sweet, warm, certain her. I fall asleep easily in this house, in this town, in this life that I drove a motorhome to the edge of a continent to find. Pepe doesn't move, he's been asleep for hours. This is a day on the oil. Not every day, most days are simpler, quieter, less colored by Rick's particular light. But the oil days are the ones that feel most like being fully alive, most like being actually present in the life you're living rather than just passing through it. 2 drops the size of a grain of rice. A steam train that left the station this morning and carried you somewhere worth going. Rick's up, Rick's been up all day, and now finally Rick's done, sleep well.